Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. I wanted to touch on Sark's comments at the SEC spring meetings. I think it's really important to chime in on that as he said quite a bit today in some one on one interviews and some to the presser he did for the whole media. And just wanted to chime in on that because I wasn't able to do that on the live with Jance that we did tonight. So I wanted to kind of do this as a one off. Remember to hit the like button. We're trying to get to 15,000 subscribers. So if you could help us out here and hit that subscribe button, it's free to show love. Keep up with all the latest and greatest. We're doing shows on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Fridays. So, and those are live shows, but we'll also have content all over, short form, long form, and stuff like this. But getting into the comments he made, I have really three big takeaways. Number one is just right off the bat, right, addressing the $40 million roster. Folks, I've spoken on this in multiple live chats and whatnot. We know these balloon numbers come out of people's asses and misinformation gets spewed all over the place. And I'm glad Sark phrased it as he did, right? And he even said, nobody came and asked me. There was one anonymous source. Y'all took a number and literally ran with it, right? So just seeing the response that he had and a very, and look, I don't know how much the roster is, and that's not really the point of this because, people were giving Ohio State folks all the trouble in the world for $20 million, but they won a national championship. So who cares? Right. And I've said, if you have the resources, use them. Use everything at your disposal while it is legal, while this is the era of college football. Take advantage. There's nothing to be ashamed of because if the money gets the people in the door, you still got to manage all those people. You still have to manage talent. You still have to make them play as a team. You still have to have guys that are willing to sacrifice. We know all those components go into winning. It is not as simple as I spent all this money, I get all these players, and now voila, the outcome of my desires happens. That's not how this works. If we were really in the bad game, if we were really spending $40 million, we'd have Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs on our team with everybody else. We'd have Ryan Williams. Okay, so no, I mean we have some great players. I think we have a phenomenal team going into the 2025 season. But that kind of goes into the next thing that Sark addressed. With the current layout of college football, he said he doesn't expect to see an undefeated national champion, at least in the future. He said maybe ever again, but at least near future. And he talked about it. Going 16-0 in this sport with the playoff that we have, you're gonna have to have crazy depth, and you're gonna have to have people stepped up. He talked about Quinn going down last year, Kelvin Banks going down last year, Cam Williams going down last year. We lost our running back before the season even started. There was so many things going on that we went 13-3. We ended up the college football playoff again, but there was a lot we had to navigate with having really talented, really good depth at all those positions to keep the party going. Think about the year before Quinn went down. The year before, we had to have Malik Murphy start a couple games just to keep us afloat. So, these teams and that's what goes into the trust of Texas, right? Because he said, look, we don't have young players, we have new faces. And I love that quote because that's really how Texas and the approach that they've made to rebuild year over year over year, to not rebuild, that's the wrong word, to reload, right? You go from an A.D. Mitchell to a Matthew Golden. You go from Xavier Worthy to an Isaiah Bond. You go from what we had before to an Andrew Makuba. And each year, and he said it perfectly, you're tapping into the portal to fill holes on your team. But overall, when he talked about the new faces, he wasn't talking about portal players. He's talking about guys that have been in the program for 2-3 years that they believe with their evaluations as a coaching staff are ready to be primetime contributors, so much to the point where they did not feel the need to go out and fill holes in the portal. And he's talking specifically to Kyle Flood's group in the offensive line. They feel as though what they've seen over the spring and what they have replacing four starters, four guys that are in the NFL, that those guys are going to be good enough and the depth behind them is good enough to where they did not need to go fill a hole in the portal. And you have other programs that have to rely on the portal to recruit at volume. Texas has been very fortunate not to lose any big time players to the portal. Guys that have entered the portal have mostly been backups or developing players. So they've held on to key talent year over year, prep talent. They're developing in house. And then you factor in they're only, whenever they add somebody, it's just a piece on top of what you already have, or just plugging in something last minute. But all those players are very capable, and as we've seen, a lot of NFL talent that they brought in via the portal. So just the overall aspect of team building and roster building and Sark's approach to that he spoke to, I thought was really, really interesting. And I recommend checking that out. So, just obviously the $40 million roster that he debunked, right? Nobody know, like he even said, I wish I had $15 million more. But to us as fans, as Josh Pate said, as long as third and long still feels the same when you're at a game or you're watching at a bar, or you're in your living room and the feel of the game is still there, we have nothing to worry about as fans consuming this sport real time. There are guardrails and things we need to monitor and pay attention to, and things that obviously need to be cleaned up under proper governance. But when it comes to the overall feel of the sport, I mean, people actually have more chances than they've ever had before to have sustained postseason success and compete for a national championship. I don't remember ever having this many teams having an opportunity. When Sark talks about 16-0, shoot, one of those teams from either a lesser conference or G5 could make it, and they have as much opportunity as anybody else to go on and run in the playoffs and prove themselves, right? And prove everybody wrong. So being in that era, that is something that, we always highlight the negatives and focus on the negatives and harp on the negatives. But there's also a lot to look forward to in terms of opportunity in this day and age. So y'all chime in the comments. Let me know what you thought about Sark's comments, about the roster. Obviously, the ridiculous report that Kirk Bowles had put out there, we'll call out by name, his comments on undefeated teams, and then obviously his approach to roster building and utilization of the portal. Appreciate you guys. By the way, just a little quick bonus ad that I forgot to promote on the live show with Jance. I will be going live on Texas Sports Unfiltered with Brad Kellner on the 2 to 4 show. So we are going to be filling in for Chip and Zay on TSU Unfiltered. Please, please, please go follow. I'll try to broadcast the stream onto the channel here, but we are going to be doing a live. So I'll put word out. Me, Brad Kellner, 2 p.m. tomorrow, or, if you're watching this day of May 28th, me, Brad Kellner, 2 to 4, go on live, Texas Sports Unfiltered on the app, YouTube channel, and hopefully try to cross broadcast on this space. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. Please help us out. We're trying to get to 15,000 subscribers by Texas versus Ohio State on August 30th. Really appreciate it. And remember, horns always up. Hook 'em.